Live from our studios in Lake St. Louis, Missouri, it's Between the Lines with Rob Reynolds, brought to you by the St. Louis Crisis Nursery and by Compass Healthcare Consultants. And now, Between the Lines. Good day, friends. How are you doing? Rob here. Say, I wanted to talk to you today about something that I guess that every parent lives for. And if you have kids and you've kind of grown up with them, the same as they have, but there's always three or four things which you think, I remember that time when I got to embarrass my kid and kind of do a preemptive strike or a reactive strike whenever you decided to do the embarrassing. So I wanted to point out a couple of those today that I had during childhood of my daughters. I'm sure they would have a different view that I have, but it was humorous for me at the time. One was during elementary school, my oldest daughter had a little dance they were going to do. And of course, they needed to ask a little boy to go with them. And she did that. And the kid's last name was Mac. And I don't even remember what his first name was, but it was his last name was Mac. So I, of course, was the designated pickup person, and I went and picked Mr. Mack up, and my daughter was in the back seat. And when they got in there, I turned around and said, "You know what? I think I know your uncle. Is it Uncle Fleetwood?" He looked at me like, "What are you, a weirdo?" I said, "Well, I do know your dad, Big." I just thought that was hilarious. I looked back, and my daughter was like, "I'm going to kill you." But anyway, I got a big kick out of it. The other thing, that's only one daughter. The other daughter, this happened whenever she was in middle school. And it was one of those icy days where they got out early there at the middle school. And they had this hill that went down the from the parking lots. So you got out of school, you walked across the parking lot, then you went downhill, you got in your car. Well, she jumped out with her friend and ran down the hill. And I thought, "Huh, I don't know any need for me to take the steps." So I started down and I slipped and fell and literally did a barrel roll down the hill. Meanwhile, every kid that was getting on the bus was looking. Every parent that was saying, "Who is that fool?" And of course, my daughter and her friend were standing there saying, "I wish I could turn into a molecule and disappear." Now, the other one was whenever the youngest was in high school. I was subbing at that time, and it just so happened that that day I was at her high school. And it came time, about, I think it was about 10:15, if I remember the time correctly. But they had a tornado drill. And of course, you needed to get under the desk. Oh, for Lord's sake. Me trying to get under that desk was a sight for sore eyes. It was all over the school, me trying to get under that desk. Finally, I just said, "Heck with it. If it blows me away, it blows me away." So even years later, I was known as the sub that couldn't get under the desk. What a stupid plan, anyway. Just go out in the hall and get by your locker. Well, the final thing was one which could have been very tragic, but it did happen, and it happened at Six Flags. The joyous place. But we were out there, and that's when they had the lazy river. And the lazy river flowed around, and you flowed on on little rafts, and just had a big old time going through there. Well, of course, my kids were there, and the lazy river was just jammed that day. So I went through the line. It came time for me to get my raft, and for whatever reason, I thought it would be smart, like to just put that raft over my head and pull it down. Well, I got that thing about halfway pulled down. It wouldn't go any further. And I was like floating through the lazy river, and I flipped upside down. Now, the lazy river was about 4 feet deep, so you could easily walk. But but not me. I was floating there upside down in the lazy river with the life attachment over my head, about to drown, literally. And when I finally decided to put my feet down instead, I looked around and every lifeguard in the place was ready to jump in and save me. Now, can you imagine that? Man saved at Six Flags, water 4 feet deep. Well, that scarred me for life, and we've not been back to Six Flags. In fact, I think our name's on a list there. We're not invited to go back. But anyway, isn't the purpose to have kids just so you can embarrass them? Because probably in the course of 20, 22 years that they're living with you, well, they're going to embarrass you. So you might as well be proactive and embarrass them. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that to you. I hope you thought that was as humorous as I did. And we've reached the end of the line today, and then another Between the Lines. And we'll see you soon online with Between the Lines. So long, everyone.